Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Adventures in Truth Livecast. My name is Jim Case. I am the host of the show and so excited to be back here with y'all. This is my first live show in 3 weeks. I've had the most incredible journey in the last couple weeks. Mike's birthday was this past week. We had friends in. We went on a road trip all over the place, 3,200 miles on a road trip, and then a week with friends here in town. And it's just been awesome, and it was a lovely break, and I'm thrilled to be back, and even more excited to be back here with Moshe as we have another conversation with Moshe and dive into all things about environment. I think this is going to be a powerful topic because I think we don't comprehend how we contribute to environment, how we create environment, and how we what environment actually is. We think of environment as a room or a house or a space, and I think it's so much more than that, and so much more than that because it is what we create. And we're going to get into that in detail. And I said it kind of lopped it off pretty quickly, but this is all about perception, creation, energy, engagement. It's going to be a really powerful conversation. So we're glad you're here, glad to be back, looking forward to it. And please, if you like the show, please share it. Let everybody know about it. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on E360 TV. That's our home network, amazing network full of great shows. And but like us, share us, let everybody know we're here. But we're glad to see you, and we're going to be right back right after this. So something else amazing that happened give you my things here, that happened while I was away. I received an award, an international book award in the spirituality category. And so I'm really excited about that. My first book, I earned an award for that book. I think there was about 2,000 people that entered to the contest. So that's super exciting. The book is doing well. I appreciate all of you out there that have read it, that have reviewed it. And I reach out to all of you who have not yet done that and tell you that this is really, really an incredible book. And what makes it so is that it changes your relationship. It can change your relationship with fear. Obviously, you have choice always in the matter. But what this book does is it kind of guides you through the process of seeing the evolution of fear in your own experience, and then being able to internalize that and being able to create powerful change by changing your relationship with fear. When you change your relationship with fear, it literally changes everything. It opens you up to possibilities and potential that you didn't even know was there because of the limited viewpoint that fear creates in our experience. So I encourage you to go to www.fearisachoicebook.com. You can see reviews. You can order the book there. All the links are there. There's some video there. There's testimonials. And you can also reach out to me if you have questions about the book, if you have questions about the concepts of the book. I'm happy to chat with you about that. So www.fearisachoicebook.com. Check it out. please. And we'll be right back on the other side with Moshe. So we'll see you in just a few minutes. I almost forgot. How could we skip things without my world is good? My world is good. This is the year of conscious creation. And what that means for me is we get to every day make choices. And in those choices, we get to choose the things that create our world. And I believe we are 7.5 billion, 8 billion unique worlds inhabiting one planet, because our perception drives everything in our own little world. So my world is good is all about generating this positive flow, this neutral positive flow in our world. My world is good. My world is good. My world is good. And affirming that within the context of our world. And as we do that collectively, we begin to create a tipping point. We begin to create a momentum of positive flow energy that begins to create change in the world in a very positive way, bringing more love, bringing more goodness into the world, because that's what we see, that's what we know, and that's what we create. So my world is good. Another powerful movement, something to share with the world. Doesn't require anything from you but your energy, your focus, and your intention. Doesn't require emails, doesn't require your money. I just want you to focus. I want you to bring this energy into the world in the most effective way possible. And the best way to do that, 10 times when you wake in the morning, 10 times in the evening, and anytime during the day when you want to align yourself with the greatest part of yourself. When you're feeling conflicted, when you're feeling out of balance, when you're feeling out of alignment, just stop. Focus on anything in your environment that brings you joy or that satisfies you or that stimulates you, and just radiate and feel and speak, my world is good. All it just requires, focusing that energy into that space. My world is good. I'm focusing into you and saying, my world is good. And I hope that you can do that as well. Share it, spread it all over the place. And let's create that amazing tipping point so we all move forward into an incredible world that we envision. So I will see you guys on the other side of the break. And then Moshe will be here for sure. We'll be right back. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It took me a few bumps to get through there, but my goodness, going away for a couple of weeks, you got to get your juju going again.
Right. Good to be back. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, right. It's good to be back, as I changed my green screen because I got back. There we go. There we go. And thank you. And thank you. How's life treating you out there, Moshe? In the Amari wave.
Life is good. Life is good. Yeah.
All full of positive change and forward momentum, which hopefully takes us all to the next level, right?
That's the plan.
Cool. I want to say hello. We have a new guest, Mary Lou. Hi, welcome to the podcast, or welcome to the show, actually. Glad you could make it, and we're glad that you're here and looking forward to this conversation. All right, Moshe, let's talk about environment. We started to dive in a little bit when we were chatting about it, and the more that I've sat with this, the more I like this topic, because environment to me is so tied into perception and so tied into, we kind of tend to think of an environment as, oh, okay, I'm in my room, or I'm in my house, or I'm in my work. And we call that our environment, our work environment, our home environment. But do we really get what we're saying or what we mean when we talk about environment? And I know you wrote a piece about it. So I want to let you launch this conversation if I'm moving in the same direction, and let you start off with some of the things that you observe about environment.
Well, the first thing I'm noticing that is in this conversation, in the prior conversation you and I had to prepare, that you were coming at it from the perspective of creation, how we create our environment, how our energy and intention plays a really critical role in that. And I was initially coming at it from the perspective of reaction. When we step into an environment, a physical environment, a situation, how do we do? And there's two opposing ideas, and I think both are true. One is it's very difficult to outperform our environment.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, so for example, if it's broad daylight, I'm trying to take a nap and it's hard for me to nap in the light, it'll just be tough for me to do to kind of will my way through it. I'm just going to make it happen. Versus get window blinds and change the environment,
or get a personal blind. You can something. Yeah.
And on a more important level, say if that we have the stories of rags to riches, and we're all familiar with them. Hollywood plays them up.
Yeah.
But in fact, they're more uncommon than not. It's the exception rather than the rule, which is what makes it an interesting story. And for most of us, our environment constrains us. And so when we ignore the impact of our environment and just presume we can will our way through it, it causes problems, and I think puts unnecessary pressure on ourselves. I remember when you were at my place, we had just moved, and we hadn't unpacked and there were boxes all over the place. We were about a week or two in, and you came over to visit and said, "This would drive me crazy. I live like this." And it was difficult to live like that for a while. But you were essentially saying this in this physical environment it makes me like this. It makes me crazy. So that's how I was approaching the environment. And rather than change me or us changing ourselves, do we look to the environment and see if we can change that, or step out of it if we can't?
Interesting perspective, and a good place to put on some pause. I think after the break, we're gonna go into a moment of focus, so we can get everybody who's listening and watching. This is one of my favorite parts, is to kind of bring all of our energy together. I love that intro, Moshe, and I love where we can go with that, because I think that there, like you said, there's kind of two sides, but I think it's all in perception. I don't think it's in the reality of energy, but we're going to talk about that more on the other side, and kind of maybe even debate it a little. That'll be fun. Yeah. So we're going to take a moment to focus. Moshe, we'll be right back with you. And hi, everybody. Welcome to a moment of focus here. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. This is an important part of the process for me, because, as we talk about on a daily basis, on every show, we talk about your daily practice. We talk about doing the things that help center you and focus you into the greatest part of yourself. And so I like to do this at the beginning of the show after we've laid out the concept, so that all of our energy collectively can be focused into this arena. And that as Moshe and I move through this topic, we're going to touch on the things that impact you and touch you and help you to better understand, as we are better understanding these concepts that we present. So as you're breathing, again, in through the nose and out through the mouth, just settle into wherever you are with a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And gently let your eyes settle and close your eyes if you can. And just continue in that breath of in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you breathe, bring your awareness into your heart space. Bring your awareness into the center of your chest. Keeping the eyes closed, breathing into that space as if you're expanding your heart and expanding your love. As you inhale through the nose and exhale from the mouth, continuing to expand and feeling that energy in the heart as it begins to grow, as it begins to warm. And let that continue to percolate as you bring your awareness to your field. Your field is all of you that's beyond this physical experience. That is all of you, that is all aspect of you, your energy, the thing that is larger than this physical body. And I want you to become aware of that field. And notice that as you become aware of it, you may notice that there are things that are hanging out in that space. As we move through the world, we collect things, we resonate to things. As we move from person to person and place to place, the things in our energy get stimulated, and some of it's positive and some of it's not so positive. And I want you to just be aware of the places that you hold things in your energy. These are nothing more than denser energy than the field itself. But these are the things that begin to create your reality, because they are densifying, they are physicalizing, they are becoming into this process because they're getting denser within your field. And what I want you to do is I want you to pull your field into that heart space that you've opened up. And I want you to bring all of that energy into the heart. And I want you to feel the warmth and the tingle of that as you do. Because I want you to take your awareness now to the inside of your body and leave all that stuff that's in your field. Just leave it there. Leave it out in the ether. Let the universe take care of that. If it's important, it will return and you will pay attention to it. But in the meantime, let's cleanse and purify this energy through your heart and let it travel through you. I want you to take your awareness through your body gently. Just allow it to flow. Start up in your head. I want you to feel around in your head and into your brain and have an experience of what it is that it feels like inside your own head. Notice all of the detail as you peruse this amazing organ in your head, and then trace around where the brain stem connects to the spine, and notice this extraordinary electrical current, this extraordinary conductor of the spine that runs from the top to the bottom, surrounded in fluid, protected with bone. And all the nerves that emanate from that spine that radiate to all the systems in your body. And notice the harmony of the systems in your body. Or maybe you notice the disharmony of systems in your body. Whichever way you observe it, you have the ability to create change in it because you're being conscious of that. And as you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, just let that consciousness roam. Become acquainted with your own organs. Become acquainted with your blood and with your blood vessels and your nerves and the cells, and just take it in. Let it impress you. Don't try to make it anything. Everyone experiences things differently. You may see things, you may hear things, you may sense things, whatever it is, let it be and be in awareness of that. And now bring that focus completely into the heart space as we focus into the breath for a moment. I want you to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. We're going to do a counted breath. We're going to breathe in to 4, we're going to hold, and then we're going to release to 6, and then we're going to hold. In through the nose, out through the mouth. So work with me as we begin. Begin with an inhale, 2, 3, 4. Feel that fullness, feel that amazing richness in being full, and then completely surrender it. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. And now rest in the emptiness. Rest in the void. Rest in the space of allowing. And then consciously choose to engage the lungs as you inhale. 2, 3, 4. Feeling full and resting in that wonderful fullness and surrendering it in the exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. And then rest in that void, in that empty space, just creating a beautiful space of allowing. As you re-engage and inhale, 2, 3, 4, feel that fullness, feel that richness, and then release it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. Continue that rhythm on your own. Continue that breath as you feel the cleansing and purifying of that inhale, as you feel it and fullness, and then you release it completely. And as you reach the bottom, sit in that space of not know. Sit in that space of emptiness and prepare yourself for that next breath. This is the process of creation. You are bringing life force and prana and chi into your body, into your being, and then you're being with it. And then you're letting go of the old energy to prepare for the new energy. And you prepare and you take it in and go again. And as you do that, let these words wash over you. My world is good. 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 Feel that, emanate that, radiate that, experience that. and just be in the process of the cycle of your breath, being conscious of it, being aligned with it, and allowing it. And complete the cycle of breath that you are in. And as you do, bring your awareness gently back to the present, back to this moment, back to Moshe and I here at the show. As I bring Moshe back in to join us. I have to give him a little cue. It's like, oh yeah, I got to remember to do that.
Yes.
Oh, that felt great, guys. Welcome back, and again, Moshe, it's so good to see you. We talk on the phone rather frequently, but we don't get to see each other as much anymore. So
right.
This is a good thing. All right, today we're talking about the power of your environment, and we had a great intro. Moshe gave us a wonderful intro. You want to recap just a hair on that, and we'll dive in further with that.
Yeah, the idea that there's two perspectives. One is we create our environment; we're responsible for it. The other is our environment is more powerful than us, and it's very difficult to outperform it. Our physical environment, our situation, our culture, and so on. So those are the two different, what I would call realities, and what I think you would call perceptions. And we can pick it up from there.
Cool. So how I see environment, and this has been a fun exploration because, again, I think your perception or what you're presenting is a bit of being at the effective environment. And I think that is in direct proportion to level of consciousness or unconsciousness of the environment. And what I mean by that is environmentism is the arena that we create for us to experience the things we desire, the thoughts we have, the feelings we have, the energies that we're trying to understand about who we are, what we are, and why we're here. So within the context of time and space, here we are, physical bodies, these incredible beings in these physical bodies in time and space, translating energy through all of this stuff and trying to comprehend our relationship to any and all of it. And so I've talked a lot about perception and perception being what really drives what we see in the world. Our perception, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our ideas about the world, all that stuff creates our perception. And then our perception informs our reality, what we call our reality, what we're saying is environment. And I think that every environment we engage in is part of our creative process. And the cool thing is that something else that I never quite comprehended that seemed to click for me when I started looking into this whole topic is the idea of we are all part of the same whole, meaning we are individuated, but because we are from the same source, we have the ability within us, because we're all energy, that we can interact in our fields within environments, because we all have these desires, we all have these things that we need to work out. And so here we are, all of these 7.5 billion unique sparks, all these unique worlds that are moving around in this environment and being co-creators, because I may be trying to work through or trying to understand an aspect of myself, confidence. I'm trying to understand my confidence and what maybe I feel like I lack confidence. And this is only one aspect, mind you, there's multiple layers of this. But so as I move through my world, questioning my confidence, my world is going to reflect that question. My environment is going to reflect that question. And how is it going to do that? Well, I may step into an environment in work where I go to work that constantly stimulates my need to understand my confidence, because I can't seem to get my groove where I'm working because I can't seem to find my zone there. And to your point, where the environment affects you, I think that the effect is a bounce back. Do you know what I mean? It's part of what we're trying to understand. Is this making some kind of sense? Is it connecting in any way?
Yeah, it does. I like what you're saying about how what shows up in our environment is in direct relation to what we need to work on, what issues come up, like the confidence example.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be work on. It can be both positive, and it can also reflect success. It can reflect
Right.
our joy, it can reflect our confidence, if that is an integrated, embodied experience. But that's the key there, is that I think the integrated, embodied experience is why we create environment. We start in energy, we have an experience, we don't quite comprehend how this energy works, we throw it out into the environment so we can see it. You and I talk about this frequently. Over time, we've had these conversations where maybe I've gone for a week with something I haven't been able to resolve, and then you and I have a conversation, and then I get to throw it out in the environment and talk about it, because then we can see it within the perception of both of our perceptions now, because there's some value. You're there and participating because there's some value for you as well, right? Because we're co-creating. So it may not be the same reason I'm in the conversation, but it is the same ballpark of the conversation. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? So that's where the co-creative part for me is so powerful. Isn't it amazing that all the people and things that show up in our space and in our environment are equally cooperative to whatever it is we're trying to understand? Because from their perspective, they're having a different experience that is about their experience, and I'm having my experience, which is about my experience. That got really convoluted.
Yeah,
I think.
got it. That makes sense. Well, here's a question. I'm trying to make sense of what you're saying and meld it to the way I'm looking at it, which I'm thinking of a famous quote by Peter Drucker, who's a well-known. Peter Drucker said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." And he was referring to in business, we can have the best strategy. So let's say I, as an individual, I'm highly creative and I go to this company, I want to be innovative and create new things and so on. But at every turn, the culture of the company squashes it. They might have words that say, yeah, innovation's good, but they squash every effort to innovate, to do things different, to take risks and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, the strategy or the commitment to be innovative is overwhelmed by the culture that says no, 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 again and again in different ways.
Okay. So if we take that step back just a second, to a I don't know if what I'm trying to say. So the person who entered into that environment, I think you have to take it down to the individual as opposed to the collective, because yes, culture has an effect. Obviously, culture has an impact, but the impact that it has is in direct relation to whatever it is you're trying to process through or work through. So if you're in an environment that doesn't support innovation and you went there to be an innovator, you've chosen the wrong environment. You've chosen an environment that doesn't support what you're looking for. So what do you do about that? That's, I think, where the challenge of environment is. It's not necessarily to battle what's there. It's to recognize what's there and determine if that is an environment that suits learning or doesn't suit learning. Does it suit growth or it doesn't suit growth? And that sounds kind of clinical, but even though all of those things are built because the culture is built by individuals. The culture is a collective of individual thought that has propagated itself within the structure of a business or a society or a group of people. And it's still constituted by the individual thought process. So just like my world is good to me in a way, it's the same thing. As each individual comes into their light, comes into their clarity, then you look into your environment to make sure that what you have outside, what you're seeing, is in alignment with what you're experiencing. If there's a discord, if there's not an alignment, then the alignment is what has to be addressed. The rest is kind of, again, it sort of comes back to it's a story about alignment or a story about an issue, as opposed to what it is I'm trying to walk through or understand or learn or grow. Because again, if you take the basis that everything we do is really to enhance or benefit, as long as we're not obviously actively sabotaging, if you're if you're in the space of the steps that I take are to forward motion, then when I'm in an environment that isn't serving or doesn't align, then I have to question. I have to look. I have to go back inside and say, "Oof, I got a crazy environment here. What's going on? What can I do to affect this? What can I do to change it? What can I do, or what is going on for me that this environment is what I'm present in?"
Yes.
And sometimes it's powerful learning. Sometimes it's, like if you take a job, everybody goes into a new job. And when you go into that new job, there's a period of growth that goes through that as you acclimate to the environment. The question becomes, how do you impact the environment, and do you bring your influence to the environment? And is it accepted or not accepted? Because for you to participate, you have to feel like you're a part of it, right?
Well, and I think this is where our viewpoints come together. So if I'm and I'm thinking for listeners and viewers who may be thinking, well, I'm already in this work environment. Maybe I should have chosen, maybe I shouldn't have, but here I am in this work environment, and it's kind of sucky, and it doesn't bring out my best. And what do I do? Or my home environment. I have kids running around and pets, and it's always crazy, and I like peaceful. What do I do? I'm in it. So I could quit and run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I could try to change it, which you were advocating, saying, what can I do to have an effect on the environment? What I think is difficult is to do neither of those, to say, the environment is as it is, I'm going to will my way through it. I'm going to overpower its effect. Now, on one hand, a highly evolved individual may be able to do that because they're totally of us. Most of us aren't there yet, and we are affected naturally by the environment. Mm-hmm. And so, in my view, it can be diminishing. It can be a weakening message to say, just push through it.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think, and it's a good place to take a break. I want to come back to the willing aspect, because I think that's a very important dynamic within environment that I think causes us challenges. But we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to have a commercial, and then Moshe is going to get to talk about what he's doing and the work he's got going on out there. And we'll be back right after this.
Science of transformation method, and I can't tell you the difference that it's made in my life.
This program is all about you coming into the greatest form of you. All right. All about embracing your joy, all about the science of transformation. Powerful program. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to look to share more with you about the program. The ScienceTransformation.com is the webpage for my program. There's single session, there's group session, or excuse me, there's session, there's a full program, and then there's packages of sessions you can do with that. Happy to answer questions, happy to talk with you about it, set up a free consultation. We can talk about compatibility and how you feel about the program. And I also offer an introductory package as well. So I'm going to bring Moshe back in here. We're on a little bit of limited time today. And I'm going to turn it over to Moshe to talk to you about his work and his book and all the incredible things that he's got going on. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you. Before I do, I just want to encourage listeners and viewers to try a session with Jim. I know he describes it, and his website describes it. The experience of it is extraordinary. That's how Jim and I got connected. I did a whole program of 20 plus sessions. It was life-changing. But it's hard for words to describe the impact and the transformation. So if this stuff resonates with you, if you're tuning into this show, do yourself a favor, give it a try. All right, so my work is tying into today's theme about the environment is help people in business leaders create the environment that brings out their best, the best in their people, and allows organizations to put the power of love to work. And I define love simply as energy that uplifts and connects. It's described in this book, The Amari Wave, that Jim so timely put up on the screen, uplifting business by putting love to work. And the fact is that organizations that do this do better financially in terms of longevity, customer loyalty, and so forth. So I am about connection and how that supports organizations and good leaders in putting the power of love to work, bringing out their best and fulfilling their purpose.
Love it. The Amari Wave, guys, www.theamariwave.com. Moshe is amazing at what he does. And if you're looking for that support, and particularly the book is great in helping to mold and change the way we think about business. And so check it out, theamariwave.com, or you can head over to Moshe's website at mosheengelberg.com. All right, my friend, in our last few minutes together, we're going to go back here and talk about, you were talking about willing through. And willing, creating, influencing. I think if I'm understanding you, I think you make a really good point that we tend to use will through our environment. We've kind of connected our environment to our egos and have decided that what we see in our environment is a reflection of who we are in some fashion, that it reflects either whether we're where we want to be or not want to be on a positive and negative scale. And then I think we begin to force or push, and that's part of I think what you're talking about culture too, is sort of driving the experience to sort of force an environment rather than create an environment, or rather than influence an environment. And to me, I think it's important to recognize, because you are part of the creation of the environment, you already have influence by virtue of the fact that you're in it. You couldn't be in it if you weren't creating in the process. And someone else is creating as well, and someone else is creating as well. Where should we go with this? That was one of those. Passing. No.
That's okay. That's part of a team.
That's right.
I think it comes down to recognizing that there's a time for influence and there's a time for surrender. Not surrender as a sign of weakness. Surrender is a sign of acceptance and letting go of resistance. Yeah. And so if an environment is too difficult, then rather than force our way through, will our way through it, or say, I'm going to change it and make it how it works for me, it's to surrender and saying, this environment is in place, it is powerful, and it's upheld by many forces, and I'm choosing to not go up against them, but to say, this is not right for me. And rather than put all my energy into changing it and it will be conflict, to move in a different direction. Sometimes that's a better choice, sometimes not. But I put on the table that that's a healthy choice in some cases.
Yeah. And I will use an example. When I was in the restaurant business, and I think this is true of every human, but in a different fashion. But my expertise was within the context, especially within the fast food environment. My expertise was systems. I understood them. I grasped them quickly. I got why they were in place. I could train people into why the systems worked. And so part of my role as a manager was to change environments. And the reason I was successful is because I didn't fight the existing environment. I brought a new energy to the environment. and I brought me to the environment. So because I knew as a manager, now obviously when I was a younger person, it wasn't as effective because I thought I had to fight my way through to create a new environment. What I learned over time was that it's my job to influence the environment, because if the participants in the environment are not enrolling into the process, then I'm barking up the wrong tree, because that means my ability to influence or my alignment or my energy within this situation is, I don't have alignment. And remember, everything is based on alignment. So I use the example because what I want to talk about there is the realization that it's still energy up, energy down. You're going to have environments that challenge you. Does that challenge spin your energy up, or does it spin your energy down? If it spins your energy down, then it's time to look at what is in this environment that's causing me to lose energy. Is it that it's not the right environment? Is it that I'm not using influence correctly? Is it that I'm creating the environment to bring awareness to something that I maybe don't want to pay attention to, or don't want to understand, or have resisted for a while? But again, energy up, energy down. There is something to, when you walk into an environment, you can feel in it, whether it's a job, whatever it is, you feel into that environment and you immediately influence it. The moment when you become conscious of the environment, you are influencing immediately, because your energy changes the space that you're in. The question is, how is it changing it? And how is the space, like you said, how is the space affecting you? Again, energy up, energy down. It's a question of looking at those things. We've determined that if it's a bad thing, we beat it up and we move on and we fix it and we keep pushing through to the other side. And I'm saying it isn't always that way. I'm thinking that it's more about, what am I creating and how can I take the steps to create it, and how do I communicate those steps within the environment, depending on how that works. Like in the restaurant environment, I was very communicative. I could talk about why I was making changes and what those changes were to accomplish and how I wanted everybody to enroll into those changes and why. Because the understanding helped people to get engaged. And if I could understand it and I could explain it, then people could respond to it and adjust accordingly. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think it's true of any environment, the same options apply. But I'm going to give you the last word for your last 2.5 minutes with us.
Well, I think a lot of what we've been talking about comes down to will. And we've talked earlier about will, how in this culture there's a great emphasis placed on will as a show of strength and courage and so on. And sometimes will is not aligned with the soul.
Right.
And it speaks to a forcing that doesn't always serve.
I think honestly we're seeing that happening in real time in our government. There's a perfect example of environments that aren't focused into service, or are not focused into, that are focused into self or willful application. You know, if you look at what's happening or you listen to what's happening, you know, there's confusion and conflict because supposedly a whole lot of people believe this particular thing is valuable, but this select few people don't want to allow it to happen. So it becomes a force of wills. And so the environment becomes difficult. Right. How do you navigate that environment? Well, what I don't see happening is what you don't see is how are people changing their alignment, or how are they stepping into it in a more powerful way to create change. And there are some who are doing it magnificently, but there are equally some who are working as strong to keep the will aspect alive. And so it's interesting to see those dynamics unfolding in a large scale as well as in a small scale.
Right. And I would call that kind of environment where there's battles like that, I would call that war. In my book, I contrast the business as war paradigm with the business as love paradigm. And I cite the U.S. Marine Handbook, which describes war essentially as the mechanism of war is we bend the enemy to our will. We bend them to, and that's what a lot of trying to control the environment is. It's an act of war.
Yeah.
My contention is there's other ways that are often much healthier and much more productive.
Well, yeah, because as soon as you bend, something's going to snap back at some point. Yeah. It has to, right? If you're using it to bend to your will, there's a bend, which means that at some point that bend is going to snap back and slap you in the head.
You sound like a physicist. Every reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yes. We are at that time. I know you have another engagement, so we will. I thank you for this amazing conversation. I'm going to close the conversation today. I'm going to dive a little bit more into our perception creates, but it's still more of the same conversation and carrying it on. But I appreciate you, Moshe, and have an amazing day. Thank you for your contribution and for another incredible conversation. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you and everyone that's tuning in. Thank you.
Thanks, Moshe. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Let me bring me back in the picture. Hi, guys. All right. So as we're talking about this environment process, I think it's kind of heady in some ways, but it's really quite practical if you can really settle into understanding when you create your reality, environment is part of that. Environment is the playground that we get to enact, operate, feel, experience, all of the things that we think, feel, believe, all of that gets to be projected into this screen called the environment. And the beautiful thing of all of this is we're all in here cooperating together. And isn't it amazing that when I focus on something, if I want to create more something, or if I want to understand something more powerfully than I have, or I'm looking for clarity, and I'm in my space of meditation, and I am focused into that space, and I'm asking, and I am seeking a deeper understanding. What begins to happen is that desire begins to move out into my outer reality. I begin to see things that show up that help me to begin to understand the things that I'm looking for. This is true every single time. It's not sometimes, it's not every occasional, it's every single time. Because as you become more conscious, you become more clear about that relationship between you and environment. And you don't see yourself as separate from, nor do you see yourself as victim of. And that's why I say our perception creates. Perception is so much of the game here, in the sense that what we perceive is reflecting simply what's happening within us in core vibration and some of the ancillary vibration. It's all part of the same package. And as we move through the world, because we're all different aspects of self, we're learning through each other. We're learning through these environments, because I'm creating a space which I can see and I can experience all these things. And here comes another being who has an overlap of experiences and brings an energy that helps to stimulate my energy, which is why I'm there. I'm there to be stimulated to something, right? And so whether it's meditation, whether it's work, whether it's romance, whether it's love, whether it's whatever it is, activity, mountain climbing, whatever it is, when you create your environment, pay attention. Pay attention to what you've created. Pay attention to what's in the environment, because it is informing you, whether you're conscious of it or not. That's the cool part. When you become conscious of it, it's so much more magical and incredible, because you're seeing your ideas and thoughts come to life, so that you can look at them and go, wow, that was amazing. Or I might want to try this a little differently next time. Or I don't want to try this again at all. Or whatever the case may be. But recognizing wherever you are, whatever environment you step into, quote unquote, which I'm saying is step into and create at the same time, because as soon as you step in, you're there. You're in it. You're a part of it. And as you are a part of it, then you begin to figure out how you interact in that environment. And remember, energy up, energy down. If it's stimulating, if it's engaging, then you probably want to continue. If it's not, you got to step back and take a look at what you're being presented with. What have you created to see here, so that you can take a step in consciousness and responsibility of your own energy. So you don't take a job. I mean, you can, and that's just where choice is amazing. How many of us out there have taken a job because we need money, and the money's good, but the environment sucks. And so we put up with the environment in order to keep making money. And that out of balance state becomes challenging because our perception then creates new environment, new reality, right? So you continue to perpetuate the environment that exists because you're trying to force it or you're trying to will it rather than step back, observe it. What is the misalignment for me in this? Maybe it's this isn't my environment, or maybe it's I'm bringing an energy to the environment that doesn't serve either of us. So it gives us a playground to begin to look more deeply at this stuff and to look more deeply at how we affect environment as opposed to how environment affects us. I think they both happen, but I think that it's important to understand that the effect comes after your involvement. So when you step into an environment, the environment is what it was before you got there. When you come in, you bring a new influence, a new light to this energy. And as you shine your light into this environment, it will have an impact. The impact that it has is what you can begin to perceive about how your energy is operating within that space. And again, evaluation, it isn't emotional. It is simply an observational experience. How am I engaging in the environment? Is it working? Is it not working? If it's not working, what can I do in this situation? Is it an energy shift? Is it an alignment thing? You know, like we were talking about starting a new job. Sometimes it's really challenging because when we first start a new job, it's awkward and uncomfortable. And, you know, I talk about this in my book a little bit too. It becomes a little difficult because it's all new and we don't know who we are in the context of this environment. And that's where I think the challenge begins, is we start to adapt ourselves to the environment instead of adapting the environment to ourselves, if that makes sense. Not surrendering us. Yes, sometimes that's important, but again, those choices are clearly energy up, energy down choices. So if you're in an environment that's kind of requiring a change in you, that change may feel uncomfortable, but the positive spin of your vibration tells you, okay, step through this discomfort. I don't have to will through it. I just have to walk through it. And again, on the same phrase, this discomfort, I go, oh yeah, yuck. I don't want to align to that energy. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like me. It doesn't feel like an alignment I want to be in. It's a whole other circumstance now that you can step back and reassess the environment that you've chosen. So I hope this all makes sense, and I hope that you guys out there are understanding. If you have any questions or comments, please go to Adventures in Truth Facebook page where the live is showing. You can type your questions in right there, and I will get them live on the air and happy to answer them. But as we bring this conversation to a close, I just ultimately I think the purpose of this entire conversation was just to bring to awareness that environment is so much more than just the physical objects that you see in it. The physical objects that you see in it, you've placed there or have been placed there by others, but they're there to inform you. And, you know, I mean, you don't want to get nuts about it, you know, well, a flower vase there and this there and that there. But notice that whenever you go into a space, how you engage that space, how you engage that environment. When you walk into a new environment, are you guarded? Are you protective? Are you defensive? Or do you go in with love? Do you go in an open space of, gosh, this is all brand new. I'm going to just kind of walk with this and see how it goes. And I'm going to step in at every juncture to find my alignment and to find, to be in alignment with what I said that I wanted and to see how that works in this environment. And the environment can inform you how that's working. And again, initially it can be bumpy because when you are integrating into a new environment, you bringing an energy to the environment that's adjusting to you as much as you're adjusting to it, because you are influencing and changing the environment just by your presence in it. And that's the key to all of it. I thank you all for being here today. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for gently assisting me back into 3 weeks away from the show. I'm thrilled to be here again and visiting with you guys and getting to talk about all this great stuff. So I wish you the very best. Sorry, I'm looking at my screen trying to figure out what I'm doing next. I wish you guys the very best here. And please like and share and tell everybody about the show and join us on Friday. We're going to have Shelley Entine on Friday to talk about the planets and what's going on with retrogrades and all that good stuff. So you guys have an amazing day. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. And we'll see you again on the other side. Thanks, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Adventures in Truth Livecast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like to learn more about Jim's book, Fear is a Choice, Unraveling the Illusion of Our Separation from Love, check it out at www.fearisachoicebook.com. Also check out Moments of Truth, a new offering from Adventures in Truth. If you'd like to work with Jim, check out www.thesciencetransformation.com to book a session. Tune in live every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and every Friday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Or look for our new releases and podcasts every Monday. Until next time, be well, and we'll see you again on Adventures in Truth Livecast.